Did Karen Bass's cryptic message mean that she knew about the LA fires ahead of time? It's a bombshell if it's true, obviously. And we will never know, I don't think. We'll never know if it is true because such things, such massive conspiracies, such as the notion that the LA fires were planned, initiated, and that people, including LA Mayor Karen Bass, knew about it ahead of time. Wow, that would, of course, be the bombshell of bombshells. So chances are we'll never know. But we do have at least a little bit of evidence that it's possible. It seems, I wouldn't say necessarily likely, but I mean, we're talking about better than a 20 or 30% chance. We're talking about, based upon the wording of the conversation, if the conversation is true, is real, is legit, then I would say there's only a few other possible ways to interpret the words that she said. This is an audio that was dropped by James O'Keefe from O'Keefe Media Group last Friday. And generally speaking, when we get these leaks, unless it's very blatantly a video leak, with these audio leaks, I generally wait for a second opinion, a second source. Just, we need to get more information. And I like to jump on stories, especially conspiracy theories, as soon as they're credible. This one, I waited. I held just in case, because it's hard for me to wrap my brain around the notion that they're starting at least this fire, if not these fires, if not maybe all of the fires. A lot of people have talked about the Maui fires being started intentionally. A lot of people have talked about perhaps even the hurricanes being from last year being part of a weather modification plot, plan, scheme, whatever. Well, if the LA fires were intentional, and if a lot of people, a lot of politicians, and perhaps other people were made aware of them ahead of time, it doesn't make sense to us per se, but it sort of has a sense of ordered disorder, if that makes any sense. Noah, great journalist over at 100% Fed Up and WLT Report, is one of the few that reported on it, which is funny. This is why, again, I'm waited all the way until Tuesday just to see. Now, on X, to be clear, on X, a lot of people are jumping in there and saying, yeah, this seems pretty clear. She knew something. She knew that there was going to be an event, and it just coincidentally it happens 2 or 3 days before the fire. No, I think this is clear cut. It's not clear cut, but it is at the very least very interesting. Before I get to the article, let me go ahead. Let's just play the actual. Let's play the audio itself before I start talking about something that you haven't heard yet.
And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden extends me an invitation, I took it. And hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon. The situation is very dangerous, and I would never I will take the criticism before I do a publicity stunt. And frankly, a press conference at this point in time would just be publicity.
I think the neighbors, the property owners,
yeah,
and the residents. I mean, 41,000 people live within a square mile here.
Yeah.
2 families share a 1-bedroom apartment.
But they want to hear that something is going to be done.
They want to know it's recognized. But they want to know it's recognized.
Exactly. But if I have a choice between that and compromising something, I just have to go along with it. It's not my area of expertise. I want to make sure that you are safe. And hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And when I am able to talk, I will be happy to go into great detail.
Okay. And you've got me on the street, and you're welcome to call me at any time. I'll call you right back.
No problem. And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden extends me an invitation, I took it.
I don't know. That was pretty crazy. Read between the lines. Oh, I'm not sure. It's tough. It's not clear cut, you know? It seems like for a minute there she might be alluding to something. You know, hold tight. You'll understand soon. I'll go into the details soon. I don't know. The situation is very dangerous. She said one of the things, though, that one of the pieces of not evidence, but a, thinking along the lines of how these people think. It's conspicuous that shortly after that audio dropped, she immediately fired the fire chief, and that became the news about Karen Bass. Right? It was bad news for her, but a lot of people were, even on the left, even in legacy media, were like, "Oh, she's got her scapegoat. She's pointing fingers at somebody else. She's not taking responsibility for herself." But then nobody was talking about this bombshell, right? Or potential bombshell. Oh, we don't know for sure. But anyway, let's get to this article by Noah over at 100% Fed Up. James O'Keefe and his O'Keefe Media Group have done it again. Absolutely incredible work by this team. O'Keefe has just released what he says is a leaked phone call involving LA Mayor Karen Bass just 2 to 3 days before the devastating LA wildfires broke out. And let's just say the call is extremely cryptic. So much so that Bass literally tells the other person at one point to read between the lines. They also said, let's see, in a private phone call, Mayor Karen Bass sought to downplay her trip to Ghana as a brief visit. And again, this is before. Just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. We get that part. That part is weird. Okay, especially how she says, if Biden extends the invitation, I took it. Switching tenses there. We'll see. That doesn't catch my attention nearly as much as this part, which says just 3 days before the fires erupted in the LA area, Bass issued a cryptic message to our source advising them to read in between the lines and hold tight. You will understand soon. That's significant. She also later says the situation is very dangerous. Now, she could be referring to the growing dangers around MacArthur Park. And then she goes on to say, I will take criticism before I do a publicity stunt. That sort of argues against, foreknowledge of the fires, because it seems as if maybe she's talking about, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, is that no matter what, this is a cryptic message. That is the right way to put it. Even the way that she's talking in a strange whisper. It's like, what's going on here? And why did they immediately change the subject and then turn the focus surrounding Karen Bass towards her wrongly firing a fire chief? Well, I shouldn't say wrongly. It's not that she shouldn't have fired the fire chief. She should have fired herself and the fire chief. That would have been much better. Much, much better. But, and then there was this whole discussion about how she was investigating why she was allowed to go. It's like, what is she 8? Does she need to, parental supervision as mayor of LA County before she can, or mayor of Los Angeles before she can make decisions? I just don't get it. This entire story is really weird. And perhaps that's why it wasn't covered. Maybe it's not that their distraction with the whole firing of the police chief worked. Maybe that's not why it wasn't covered. Maybe it just hasn't been covered by conservative and even alternative media because it's just weird.
The current food crisis is only going to get worse. Now is the time to secure long-term food you can store at home so you'll never stand in the government's bread lines. Visit jdrucker.com/food. That's jdrucker.com/food.